So I had a great guy that I went to high school with ask me a question about sales, and I'll just give you a little background here. His deal is that he's working for a company that's growing and he enjoys the company, he thinks it's a good company, but he's all by himself. He's in a region all by himself, so he doesn't get much contact with anybody else in the company. He goes and visits the home office 2, maybe 3 times per year, and his main question is, how does he avoid burnout, right? How does he avoid this burnout? He feels like he doesn't exactly get a ton of recognition or hears from those people, except when he misses potentially sales quota, but most of the time he's hitting that, so he's doing a lot of things in the right direction. So here is the deal, boss. Let me tell you how to handle this. So you really just have to be able to master your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, and your beliefs. And I'm going to talk about how you do that. And across all of the different disciplines out there, they talk about this in all different ways. So on the spiritual aspects, they will say your mind, body, and soul, right? Top sports psychologists a lot of times, such as Lanny Basham, Tim Gethaway, they talk about your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and your self-image, right? And there's in the Navy SEALs, they talk about the big 4, right? And it's basically the same thing, managing those states. And then you look at Tony Robbins and his son, and all these top performance coaches really get into these things. And so I like to keep things as simple as possible. And you know, what is conscious mind? What is body and soul? What does that mean? Well, it basically comes down to this, and I think this is the clearest way to explain it. It's your thoughts, right? Your emotions and your beliefs. And then I put it into my whole thing. I've got my own, you know, the Navy SEALs have the big 4. I'm going to call this my Fab 4. I haven't really come up with a good name with it. If you guys come up with a better name, let me know. But this is how you handle this. So first off, it starts with your thoughts. So when you start having these thoughts of burnout, you have to realize that everybody has these thoughts and top champions have these thoughts. But the difference is that a champion goes through these things and they think that this is their advantage, and they know that this is the time that they can turn it up and they can crush their competition. They realize that these times are what makes them strong. You know, I've talked a lot about this guy named Jocko Willink. He's got a great book that I actually suggested to you, and it's called Extreme Ownership, and he talks about the concept of no slack. And they would give their guys that he was training in the Navy SEALs no slack, right? They would always be on top of them, make the training way harder than anything that he thinks they would face in combat. And it's the same deal when you start feeling like maybe you're stressed out, you're getting overburdened or whatever it may be. Just start thinking to yourself, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to step up and take things to the next level. That is the real big difference between champions and everybody else out there, right? So the number one thing is you got to get your thoughts going in the right direction, right? So that's number one. Number two is controlling your emotions, right? Because when you start feeling like you're overwhelmed with something or you're about to burn out, you can start to feel panicked or whatever it may be. So let me tell you this cool story about Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins was dealing with a singer at the time, and he wouldn't say her name, but she's someone that he said, you know, we would all know, and she was having these panic attacks. And he goes, well, how is it that you know that you're having these panic attacks? And she goes, well, you know, I hear the roar of the crowd, I get this tightness in my chest, my hands get all clammy, I get this shudder up my spine, and she goes, that's when I know I'm having a panic attack and I cannot go on stage. And he's like, okay. So he worked through that with her, and they did that. Well, a few years down the road, he runs into Bruce Springsteen, and he goes, you know, how is it that you go out there every night and you just smash it every night? You put out those unbelievable performances. How is it that you get yourself to do that? And he said, well, you know, it's the weirdest thing. I hear the roar of the crowd, I get this tightness in my chest, I get clammy in my hands, I get the shudder up my spine, and he goes, that's when I know I'm gonna go out there and crush it, right? So what they're doing here is they are attaching different thoughts to those emotions, right? And different meanings to those emotions. And if you actually think about when you are really, really scared or you're really, really excited, and you think about the physiological feelings in your body, maybe you get certain sensations in your chest, your hands, you get sweaty, maybe you breathe a little bit harder, whatever it may be, right? It's the same thing. It's just the meaning that you give it, right? You know, I can tell you from all the years I raced professionally as a triathlete that I would get to the start line, and a lot of the time I would lose bladder control and I pee on myself, right? And a lot of people would say I was scared pissless, right? Well, to me, I was like, I know I'm ready. I'm ready to go out there and crush it. And that was always a good sign to me, and I won a lot of races doing that. So that's another thing with those emotions. So that's something you can do, and then you can also control your emotions through your breathing, right? So just really just breathing in deep and steady and solid, and just really controlling your emotions on that level. The next thing you get into, right, is your beliefs, right? And so your thoughts really control your beliefs in the long term. That's when they get into affirmations and stuff like that. I personally don't really like to use affirmations because sometimes I feel like I'm lying to myself when it's things I want to create, right? But all a belief is a lot of the time, though, is a thought that you keep on thinking. But really how to cement your beliefs and make them solid is through practice, right? And through repetition of doing something day in and day out, right? So maybe you're starting to feel burned out, right? You start turning those things around, right? With your thoughts, start controlling your emotions, attaching those beliefs to it. And if you continue to do that, right? And then you go out there and you perform, right? You're going to start to change your beliefs around that, right? So if you look at athletes, they develop their beliefs that they can go out there and execute in a given play or a given competition or whatever it may be through years and years of experience. In sales, it's the same thing, right? It's just going out there and practicing, and also practicing really hard situations that are giving you a hard time in sales, right? Whatever it may be. So maybe there's a specific thing that's making you feel overwhelmed. Well, practice around it, right? Just practice around how you can get better at that. Do some training around that, whatever it may be. Any questions you have, let me know. I'm happy to answer those for you as well. So that's that. And then number 4, so of my Fab 4, you got number 1 is your thoughts, number 2, right, is your emotions, number 3 is your beliefs, and number 4 is the attack. Go straight at it, and that's the action. So all 3 of those things are really great. You can control your state and everything like that, and those will get you going in the right direction, but you got to take that action. So whatever it is that's overwhelming you, go straight at it. Isolate it and attack it. That's something that the Navy SEALs do. So when there's a threat, they isolate it and they attack it. They go straight at it. It's the same thing in whatever is stressing you out. So if you're stressed out because you got to do a bunch of cold calls, go straight at it. Isolate it, go at it, get your mind, right? Get your emotions, get your beliefs all going in the right direction, and then boom, go straight at it. When you take action around that thing that's stressing you out, that stress immediately starts to go away because you go straight at it. So that is the name of the game, and that's gonna really be something that's gonna help you out. Another thing that you can do specifically in that action step as well is just make sure you're surrounding yourself in that cocoon of really good positive things that are gonna keep your head in the game all the time. It's vital. I listen to books all the time. I watch things, and I'm more of a listener because if I sit down to read a book a lot of the time, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just probably gonna fall asleep most of the time. So that's why I listen to things when I'm out walking my dogs or driving around or whatever it may be. So that is the name of the game. Hope this helps, boss. If you need any other help, let me know. You can always go to howtokickassinsales.com as well for more tips. And I hope you guys, everybody else watching this, enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.